Today I have a bit of an unplanned video coming along because I'm meeting up with Wayne Fiasco de Gama. Welcome to the channel, Wayne.
Thank you so much, Adam.
I don't think I've ever had you directly on the channel before. I think maybe before you were maybe in the background a little bit, or we had a bit of a chat when we were on the way to the Gillies, maybe?
Yeah, of course. I might have appeared, but I don't think I've actually officially been on your channel, so it's an absolute pleasure and an honour, Adam.
Thank you. Hey, I'm going to ask Wayne a few questions because he's such an interesting guy. If you don't know his channel, it's Fiasco de Gama. You probably already know it because he's one of the big ones.
I'm not sure about that, Adam. You made me feel comfortable.
So we're actually going back to a bar that we went to a few days ago and have a few drinks, have a bit of a chat. So you're back in Bali. I've actually been watching a few of your latest videos and you just seem to have this real happiness about you, a bit of almost like you're back home.
Well, I think for many of us, Bali's a bit like that, isn't it? You know, for some of us who came out, a few decades ago, this was something completely new for us, and we connected very, very quickly and very easily to, the generosity, the warmth of spirit, and the Balinese people, and the environment, of course, the beaches. There's just so much to like, so I think when you've been returning here for a while, when you have that initial love for the place and you come back to it, it's kind of like there's this sigh that goes on. You just sort of, there's some sense of relief that you're back
It's
here.
like a sack of potatoes is being released from your shoulders.
Yeah,
for me. Yeah.
But I think for many of us who have been here a fair bit or a few times, that this feeling of belonging builds up to the point where you sometimes even think that maybe you belong here more than where your place of origin, or more than where you're from, So, look, it's a fair observation, Adam. I think there is some sense of relief, some sense of respite. I've been travelling a fair bit recently, and where once that was the pinnacle and everything I wanted to do was just keep moving, exploring, finding new places. I think with age and having sort of perhaps seen a little bit of the area or region, it's just nice to come back and decompress and feel connected. Because I think if we're moving too fast as travellers, we don't give enough time for that connection to occur. We're sort of looking at the various obvious things. There's a saying I like, and I forget who said it. The idea that seeing the world is going from place to place to look at obvious things is an illusion natural to dull minds. And while there's nothing per se wrong with the Eiffel Tower or the Taj Mahal, the Taj is a great monument to love. The reality is it's very obvious, and you have to go a little bit lower. And when you go a little bit lower and a little bit deeper, then you make a connection.
To the mundane.
And it is very much the simple things, isn't it? It's the manner in which people go about things.
Well, I actually love the mundane. I've been doing quite a few videos over in Denpasar, and Denpasar is very mundane, but I love it. I absolutely love it. There's something about just the grittiness of it, just walking around, having a chat to people, for me, having a bit of a coffee, a bite to eat, having a look at some of the old history, which you don't really hear too much about. I love that mundane stuff, which is not really classically popular, but I think most people are going to enjoy it if they see it.
Yeah. Look, I think, again, if you've experienced the place often or for extended periods of time, this peripheral stuff that I call it sort of peripheral stuff, loses its allure, and it's very much a part of just being here is enough.
Yeah.
Like, we don't need the bells and whistles, we don't need this and that, just the scents, the fragrances, the background chatter of Indonesian or Balinese, the little things, even the perhaps at times frustrating things are a better option than, for me, being in a sterile sort of environment like the West.
So when you first got back to Bali, Wayne, I saw that you were up in Sukawati for a while, and all of a sudden you've gravitated over to Sanur, which I was a little bit surprised about. Why are you hanging out here? Is it because of me or what?
Well, you were the catalyst, Adam, and if anything comes further from this, you're going to be held responsible. Look, Sanur was always a place that I'd just passed through to drop in and see someone, have a look at the beach, take a break or whatever.
Boring.
But I never thought, and I've mentioned it in a video a couple of, it's not really my place, but within a period of a week, I've actually seen the benefits of being here. Its location, its infrastructure and the facilities
Yeah.
that it has.
Yeah.
I like the idea that there's a bit going on and there's a lot of people that have been coming. One of the things that I really, really like about being a traveller is meeting people that have stories, or people that have been coming for a long time, and they can tell you about the place at a different stage in its evolution. And in Sanur, even though they may not have appeared on the channel because
Yeah.
they're a little reticent
Yeah,
to do so, they've got a lot of stories to tell. And
Yes.
I love listening to stories. But yeah, through a combination, it's a combination of things, and perhaps there's an element of newness to it for me. So, you know, rather than taking out a lease for 12 months, I'll probably just sort of hang in a guest house for a while. But, you know, on first blush, I probably underrated Sanur and probably dismissed it a little bit too quickly.
Same as me. Look, I'll tell you how I felt about Sanur before living here. I mean, for me, it was just boredom central. Hated it. I'd only ever been here a couple of times for a few nights, and just the stigma was awful for me. But after I stayed here a little while, I probably had the same thing that you're having at the moment, which is it makes sense.
It's got a lot to offer. It just covers so many bases.
Amazing.
If you wanted to stay permanently, now I probably, if I was going to rent somewhere, I'd probably not be that dissimilar to yourself in that I'd move away from that beach strip.
Yes.
But that's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fun. And for
Absolutely.
someone who enjoys engaging with people, whether they be locals
Yeah.
or other travellers or, you know, tourists or whatever, that strip, to just kill some time and have a bit
Amazing.
of a drink, just take a walk down there. But you're also, the proximity to Denpasar, if you've got to do your immigration
Yep.
stuff, you've got Penida and you've got Lombongan straight off the coast if
Yep.
you want to go there. You've got Ubud 30 minutes away. You've got now an international standard hospital. I've said all this in an event
Airport,
myself.
20 minutes away.
It's surprising to me. I didn't think I would sort of lean into Sanur as happily and with as much gusto and enthusiasm as I have.
Well, on this channel, you're going to have a lot of supporters saying Sanur is the way to go because they already know. They already know.
Yeah.
And hopefully we see a little bit more of you around Sanur.
I think there's a fair chance of that. I'm a little bit late to the party, but it's better to be late to the party than not go to the party at all, eh?
Absolutely. Hopefully we can catch up for a few more beers as well.
I'm sure we will, Adam.
Thanks for being on the channel.
It's been my absolute pleasure and honour, good sir.
Speaking with Wayne yesterday really got me thinking about missing Bali. A lot of us have this real strong feeling about Bali, and when we're not there, we really miss it. And then when I came out here just now, I looked at these rice fields, and there's a song that I learnt when I was learning Indonesian called Potong Padi, which literally means to cut the rice field. So potong means to cut, and padi is the rice inside a rice field. Not the rice field itself, but the rice inside the rice field. And that song really evokes some very strong emotions in Indonesians, and it's a genre of music called keroncong. And it's a genre which was really sort of popularised around late colonial period, so late 1930s. And it's characterised by a few key distinct features. And they are that it's usually quite a simple type of music. It usually refers to the kampung or your home, and it usually refers to kampung type activities as well. So you might have moved to the city, for example, but you're sort of thinking back to your childhood or to your late teens when you were in the rice field cutting the rice, and you have very fond memories of that. And what's really interesting about that feeling is that there's a word that describes it perfectly, and it's called Rindu. And Rindu is just a fantastic word. And I want to explain a little bit about Rindu, because maybe that's what Wayne's feeling right at the moment. I know I've certainly felt it a lot in the past as well. And maybe it's the perfect word to describe how you feel about Bali when you're not here. It's just a beautiful day today here in Sanur in the rice fields. There's a guy over there doing a little bit of ploughing, just turning over that soil ready to plant again. I think they've just had a harvest of something else there, or they've let the fields rest. It hasn't been a plantation of padi recently. This is actually called a sawa. So the rice field is called sawa, and the rice that grows inside a rice field is called padi. Yeah, it's not the actual rice field itself. And then when you harvest the rice, you come up with Beras. Beras is the rice that you buy in the supermarket or at the market to cook. So there's lots of different stages for rice. There's other stages as well that have got names, but they're the main ones. So let's talk about Rindu a little bit. It's a very poetic word, and it doesn't have a direct translation in English. It doesn't have any translation. So I'm going to describe it with feelings. When you look in a dictionary, I haven't looked in a dictionary about this definition, but I'm pretty sure it's going to say something along the words of Rindu means to miss something, a sense of nostalgia, homesickness. Those sorts of things are sort of the direction that Rindu heads. But it's so much more than that. The thing about Rindu is there's a certain pull, a certain thing in the heart that you feel when you get it, and it usually relates to a slower pace of life that you've experienced before. A feeling of who you used to be when you were in that place, a feeling of community, a feeling of closeness to other people, other families in a particular location. So for Indonesians, it's slightly different to foreigners. For Indonesians, it's about the kampung, where they originally came from. So in my previous video, or a couple of videos ago, I talked about Pak Goci, the barber in Sanur, who comes from Banyuwangi, and I'm sure he feels rindu for his life or his hometown back in East Java, because that's where he was originally from, and he's been here for 20 years now in Bali. He'll feel rindu about his hometown and about the old days. Foreigners feel it a little bit differently, because for us, we don't have a hometown here. But if you visited or lived in this place for any amount of time, you become connected to the place in a real special way that I find that you don't really get a connection to in many other places in the world. And it's that sense of who you were at that time, maybe 40 years ago, that really is the pull of bringing you back there. You know, you might have a really busy corporate life these days, or you might be stuck in a noisy old city, and you remember Bali in 1985, and you really are rindu for Bali, for the version of who you were back then, for the closeness, for the rhythm of life and how slow it was back then. And I think some of the songs from the Keroncong era really draw you into that. So if you're really interested in maybe learning a bit more Indonesian language and listening to some really, really old songs that were probably made, well, they would have to be made before you were born. They would be made in the early 1930s. Those songs are really interesting because they really talk about the longing you have to go back to the kampung, and it maybe talks about everyday life, like in Potong Padi, where they talk about they cut the rice field. There's a busyness in the air in the morning as they all get together with their tools and start cutting the rice field. And there's a feeling of, oh, we stay here until the sun sets and that sort of stuff. But just describing a very simple atmosphere. It also reminds me of a guy who used to be my handyman back in West Java. A beautiful guy by the name of Pak Yadi, really nice guy. And he would come quite a long way to my place. About 3 hours it would take him to get to my place on a train from a place called Garut, which is really the heartland of West Java. The real sense of being Sundanese when you were there. The Sundanese people are the people of West Java. So he would work in the rice fields when he wasn't helping me out with my house and fixing the roof and fixing everything in the house, the pump and all that sort of stuff. He'd be in the rice field harvesting or planting or doing all of that sort of stuff just to make ends meet. And one of the things that would happen is that you work for someone, it's not his rice field, you work for someone else and they pay you a wage, but they also give you a bit of food as well. And he said, there is nothing better in the world than to sit down in the rice field for a lunch break and eat rice that's probably just come from that rice field some weeks ago. You know, that feeling of having your food in the place where it came from, nothing better than it. And he always sort of talked very longingly and very sort of in a very heartfelt way about eating his rice and side dishes in the rice fields. So as you've probably seen, I've just walked from the rice fields into this area with a lot of newer style places around here. This area is called, it's called Penyaringan. That's the general area. There is one road called Jalan Penyaringan, and then there's lots of side streets off Penyaringan. These are all the old rice field areas that have been built over the past however many years. and there is lots of sort of blocks of land here for sale now. Not all of them have the right permissions to build on. Some of them do. And if you're ever sort of in the market for land, make sure you go through the right channels to get your permissions, because the government seems to be cracking down at the moment on illegal buildings and that sort of stuff, and they come and do sweeps and stuff like that from time to time. I've actually looked at a few houses around here from memory. Nice little area, really close to Sanur, like really close. I've just bumped into a viewer of the channel called Graeme. How are you going, Graeme?
Hey, how are you?
Pleased to meet you. So you live around this area?
Just around the corner.
How long have you been here for?
6 months now.
Have you? And where'd you move from before that?
Maryborough in Queensland.
Really? And why did you just decide to make the move?
Because we love Bali.
You love it.
And you know what Australia's like now,
Mate.
prices and things like that.
Are you loving it here?
Oh, awesome.
It's the best move.
Yeah, well, it really is. Even on a bad day in Bali. Good day anywhere else.
And do you feel like you maybe should have done it earlier? Or is it the right time for you?
We would have liked to, but we waited until I was pension age.
Yeah. Oh, beautiful. Hey, look, really nice to meet you, mate. Thanks for having a bit of a chat.
Yeah.
Oh, that was just fantastic to speak to Graeme just then. I actually spoke to him a lot longer than what I put on camera. He's a little bit shy. I don't want to be on the camera too much. So I didn't sort of impose myself. But one of the things that he was saying is that he waited until he got to pension age before he came across here so he'd have his pension and live overseas. But his wife isn't quite at pension age, so she's not entitled to it yet. And the question becomes, what do you do if you want the second person in the relationship to get the pension as well? Do you go back to Australia and wait for 2 years to be entitled to your pension, or do you just forego it and just say, that's it, I'm done, I'm going to live in Bali for the rest of my life? And that's one of the questions that he's sort of been dicing with a little bit, and I'm sure it's a big question for a lot of people who are in that sort of age range where you may not have got your pension yet, but you want to go and live in Bali. How are you going to handle getting your pension, because you need a 2-year sort of residency in Australia before you actually access the pension? So yeah, that was interesting to talk about. He was also saying that he's renting a little villa back there in this area, really nice area, quite a modern villa. He's paying 19,000 Australian dollars per year, so 200 million rupiah per year for that. He's only got a 1-year lease, and that can bump up the price a little bit. He said that he can do much better than that in the future. He got that, he's happy with it, but maybe in the future he'll look for somewhere a little bit cheaper or somewhere better for the same amount of money. That's where he's headed with that. Oh, hello. The dog got scared because I was walking past. It's great to bump into people like that, isn't it? In a really random area as well. I spotted him coming down the road. I thought, is this guy going to recognise me? And he did. As I walk further and further up Penyaringan, I think it changes name at one point. I'm not quite sure what it is, but anyway, the further I get up here, the closer I get to the Pasar Intaran area, which is the main market in this whole area, the Intaran area, the Desa Adat Intaran, which is the name of this sort of area from a traditional Bali point of view. So when locals say they live near Intaran or they live in Intaran, they sort of mean this whole area. In fact, I live in Intaran as well, Desa Adat Intaran. So by motorbike, this is about a 5-minute motorbike ride to the beach. To walk to the beach from here, which you can do, it's probably, I don't know, probably take half an hour, I'd reckon, maybe 25, yeah, probably half an hour, something like 25 minutes could be. It's a pretty good area, like to live, it's really good. It's very, very local style. Like you can just feel the rhythm of life, the slow pace here, just sort of flowing by you, and then you look down some of the side alleyways and there's just a hive of activity down there of people doing religious things or putting up a penjor or whatever. And then this is sort of a more sort of main road. All right, here we go. So I think the road changes here. That's where I was getting a little bit mixed up. So I'm still on Penyaringan. Up there it changes to Jalan Gunung Sari. I'm going to take a right here and see where it takes me. Just stumbled upon this place called Sanur Garage. That's a little place there. It looks like a, it says eat well, ride well. It looks like a little hangout place for people who love their motorcycles. That's probably something to have a bit of a look at if you love your motorcycles. Probably meet some people who are right into the same stuff that you are, that's for sure, if you go somewhere like that. Villa for rent, long lease. There you go. This is near the market area. There'll be heaps of places for rent around here. The best way to find them is usually with Facebook or through word of mouth, or if you have a contact, an agent, like an informal agent, they'll be able to hook you up with something. Yeah, heaps of places available, but it does take a bit of looking around to get the price that you want, you know. You might be offered a lot of places that are too expensive, that's pretty normal, and you just keep going until you find something that you're happy with. So this is the Intaran market area, Pasar Intaran, yeah. So there's the main indoor market, but then all along the roads there's all these shops that are selling groceries, and they're selling clothes and household items and that sort of stuff. I might just have a bit of a peek inside. I mean, I'm not going to do a tour of the market, but I'll just show you what it's like in there. I mean, it's just another market, isn't it, really? So let's have a look. There you go. That's what it looks like. So if you need to go shopping for all your market goods, this would be a really good place to come. Green groceries and that sort of stuff. Fruit, veg, eggs. This is pretty standard for a market. This actually looks a bit more modern than a lot of markets that you see around the place. Totally fine. Often what will happen is that you'll find a store that you like, and that you have a relationship with the person there, and you'll start getting better prices because of it. Just because you are a regular and loyal customer, you'll start to get better prices. It doesn't mean you don't negotiate, you still have to negotiate, but when you start to get to know people, it becomes a little bit easier to negotiate some of this stuff. This is interesting. This is the banana store. They've got all sorts of bananas here. Look at that. Isn't that cool? Well, they've even got a cage full of bananas, so the bananas don't get stolen. Just coming outside the market and saw these figures. I mean, look at those, aren't they? Incredible figures. In front of a temple outside the market. And there's some other figures over here. Oh, amazing. And then around the back, there's even some figures around the back, which I'll see if I can get a little look at around here. Oh yeah, there's like a serpent, and there's a frog there, and what else we got over here? Yeah, a little lady with a bird. That's pretty cool. I actually just stumbled upon a place that I've been to quite a few times down here. I'll show you this place as well. This is interesting. So just outside the market, you come down here a little bit, and there's a restaurant here, or a warung, that's worth going to. I'll show you it. I won't go inside because it'll be closed, but I'll show you where you might go if you come over this side for lunch. You might want to check this place out. Yeah, it's called Aka. Yeah, so warung Aka, really good food there. That's a decent place. If you live on this side, or if you hang out on this side, that's a place that you'll probably end up going to a bit, because it's just good and easy. And then of course, outside the market itself, so I'm really close to the market, I'll just show you, is another place called Mentingen. So Mentingen is that place over there. And that place is, it's like a Balinese rice place, basically, like a nasi campur style. Get a few bits and pieces of chicken on there, a bit of rice. Fairly simple, but the flavours are just incredible, really just full of flavour, and it gives you the real taste of Bali. Beautiful place. Highly recommend going to that place, even if you're not interested in going to the market or anything. It actually wasn't my intention to come this far today, but I've sort of got carried away a little bit and walked a couple of kilometres up to the main intersection here in Intaran. If you live on this part of the bypass when you're here, or even if you want to visit, this is sort of like a central area where you might get picked up or dropped off, or you'll always transit through here, because it's just one of those places where a lot of roads lead to get to where you're going, down to the market, or just everywhere. I'm always coming through this area. Like, it's just very common, and that's why it's a little bit busy now, because all roads seem to lead to the intersection at Intaran. So this sub-village is actually called Banjar Dangin Pekan. And there's their little Banjar area there. That's all part of the sub-village, which comes underneath Desa Adat Intaran. There's heaps of Banjar. I think there's over 20 Banjar underneath Desa Adat Intaran. It's a really, really big Desa Adat. When you live here, you really don't have a lot of interaction with the Desa Adat and the Banjar. A lot of expats I've heard talk about the Banjar this, the Banjar that, but I'm personally never had to be involved with it, because it's more, the Banjar is more really to do with traditional things rather than administrative things. They do have some overlap, but generally it's not. Hello Pak. Jual apa Pak? Jual apa? Tofu rice. Tahu tipat. Oh. Bapak asli dari mana?
Asli dari Lombok.
Lombok.
Iya.
Jadi kalau di Lombok itu namanya tipat atau lontong atau di Lombok itu lontong tapi di Bali tipat.
Tipat.
Ya. Enak Pak.
Enak.
Enak banget. Satu porsi berapa?
Satu porsi 15.000.
Dan dapat apa? Kalau isinya apa?
Tofu,
Ya.
kerupuk, bumbu kacang.
Bumbu kacang.
Ya.
Ya. Oh, kelihatan enak.
Enak.
Ya.
Ini tahu.
Ya. Oh, dipotong dulu. Ya.
Digunting.
Digunting dulu.
Mau nyoba?
Tidak mau, udah makan Pak. Makasih. Tapi penasaran aja. Oke, makasih Pak. Ya, mari Pak. Ya, makasih. Interesting. Tipat tahu. One of those classic things you see is that on the side of the street. There's another one. This guy's here a lot. This is klepon. Yeah. See that there? They're little dough balls, rice dough balls with shaved coconut on the outside. But they're filled with this sugar syrup, a palm sugar syrup, and they are amazing. You usually get like a pack of 6 or whatever. You pop one of those in your mouth. You have to pop it in whole, otherwise if you try and bite into it, like the liquid sugar just goes everywhere. You just pop them straight in my mouth, and they are nice. They are pure evil, but they're the best kind of pure evil. Absolutely love a clip-on. Hey, thank you very much today for coming along for the ride. I'm really thankful to have a chat with Wayne, actually. Looking forward to seeing a bit more of Wayne in Sanur. I might catch up with him a little bit more as we go forward, given that he's going to be living pretty close by. And maybe, I don't know, maybe we'll do a bit of collaboration together. I don't know how that would work out. I'm not sure how you can really do that. But if you've got suggestions on how Wayne and I might be able to do something together that is interesting and sort of brings together aspects of what Wayne does really well and aspects of what I do really well, I'd really appreciate some of your comments on that. And I'd just like to make a special thanks to those members who have joined up recently. I know there's been quite a few of you recently that are joining up, and that's really appreciated because it really does help me create some of the content that we really love about Sanur and Indonesia. Thanks for watching. Make sure you hit that subscribe button to keep up to date with all things Sanur, the rest of Indonesia. I'll catch you next time, and sampai jumpa.